UTU is a Microsoft and Apple training center. Founded in 1999, it has a tradition in delivering in-depth technical courses for software developers and IT pros. UTU also trains business and power users in SharePoint, Business Intelligence, and CRM. Come to our training center in Brussels, at the heart of Europe, or invite us for an on-site course. UTU delivers training all over the world. I want to show you our new Business Intelligence with Excel course. This course is oriented towards business users who are already familiar with Excel, but who want to gain insight into the new technologies that Microsoft recently added to Excel. In this course, users will become familiar with Power Query for loading data from different kinds of data sources and cleaning up that data. Then use Power Pivot for modeling the data, making it easier to query the data and join the different data sources together. And finally, they will learn more about Power View and Power Map, technologies within Excel for presenting the data to the user. Imagine you're a business user analyzing your sales data over different countries. We pull information from, for instance, a data warehouse, but we would like to see these numbers now in a different perspective. In certain countries, there is a much larger population than in other countries, so we would like to see sales per capita. For that, of course, we need to load public data that has information about the population for each and every country. Getting that data into Excel isn't always that easy. You need to copy it from a website. It's not easy to go ahead and do the refresh every time. Plus, you need to be able to go ahead and join the information that you have in your Excel with that public information. To help you out on that, we have Power Query, which is one of the tools in the Power BI stack. Power Query is a free plugin for Excel. And with that, we can go ahead and search, amongst others, online data. And you can also go ahead and go to a specific website. You can load information from files, text files, CSV files, etc. You can load data from a bunch of databases, as well as other sources, even rather exotic sources such as Facebook accounts, etc. But for our demo, we want to go ahead and do an online search. Wikipedia, for instance, has a lot of information publicly available, so online search searches amongst others in the Wikipedia resources. So if we search there for population by country, the tool will go ahead and look for data sets that are related to this. Hovering over any of these data sets gives us an impression of the kind of data we can expect, and in yellow it highlights the relevant keywords that we were searching for. So let's add this to our worksheet. The data is now downloaded from the internet and loaded into Excel. But as soon as we have this in our Excel, we still have the option to go ahead and make modifications to this. Maybe we're not interested in certain columns or in certain rows. So by editing the query, we can use the power of the M language to go ahead and do all sorts of data cleansing on top of this. Don't be afraid, most of the things can be done easily with the GUI. For instance, in our dataset over here, I don't need the date, the population percentage, source, key, nor rank, so I'll just go ahead and remove those from the dataset. And the M code is generated for me. The same way, I can go ahead and filter out rows. I don't want to see the world entry in there, so let's go deselect this, and automatically M code is generated to filter out these things. This script remains stored, so later on I can refresh the data without having to do these operations again. Now the challenge is joining this table that we have over here with the table that we had over there. Not easy in Excel, but that's where Power Pivot comes into play. Power Pivot makes it possible to link different tables, even from different data sources, together and model the data, making it easier for your users to go ahead and query this data. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and load these two tables in our Power Pivot model. To do so, we go to the Power Pivot ribbon And there we have the option to click in the table and add this to the data model. Whenever we do this, a new window shows up in which we can go ahead and specify all the information about this data, amongst others relationships, derived columns, and these kind of things. Sure, we first need to add our other data set to this as well, so let's add this to the data model. But now we have these two isolated tables, and we still need to specify that they should be joined on country. To do so, we switch to diagram view. And in diagram view, we can specify relationships between these two tables. So over here, we can specify that country in our country list corresponds with sales territory country in our sales figure. As soon as this relation is created, we can now go and create a pivot table on top of this. So let's go switch back to our Excel, and in here we can now create a pivot table where we pull information from the two different tables and they will be shown related to one another. So let's grab country from our population, let's grab the population as well, and let's now go ahead and add the sales amounts from our sales table. And now we'll see how they are automatically linked together. Of course, we now have a whole bunch of countries with no sales figures, so with filters we could go ahead and make sure we only see the countries we're interested in. So we'll take things where the sum of the sales amount is greater than 0. That filters out the empty rows. And there we now have a nice list of the population and the sales amounts per population. Of course, it would be more interesting if we could go ahead and compute a sales per capita. We could do so in Excel, but that's not always easy to do and easy to reuse. So let's go ahead and do this in our data model. If we go back to our Power Pivot modeling interface and we switch to the data view, we could go ahead and write all sorts of calculations over here in a language known as DAX. So I'll take sales amount and divide this by the population to go ahead and compute the sales per capita. So I'll just go ahead and start writing my formula, sales per capita, colon equals, and then IntelliSense makes it easy to just pick the sum of the sales amounts and divide this by the sum of the population. And in this way, this new derived information is automatically added to the model. So if we switch back to Excel, we could go and add this to our pivot table over here, sales per capita, and voila, there we have our results. Time now to go ahead and visualize this information. Of course, we could go ahead and use the traditional Excel visualizations that we have on top of this data to go ahead and present this to our users, but there are two more parts in the Power BI stack that can go ahead and help us providing better visualizations. One of them is called Power View. So let's go and insert a Power View report on top of the data that we already had over here. Power View reports allow us to show traditional charting, but they provide more interaction with the user than the traditional Excel charts do. So let's again grab the list of all our countries over here, and per country we now want to see the sales per capita. So let's add sales per capita to this as well. By default he builds just a traditional table. We could, for instance, turn this into a column chart over here, and maybe we want to sort them not alphabetically, but we want to sort them based on the sales figures. So let's sort them not on country but on sales per capita in descending order. So there we see that in Canada we're doing much better than we do in Germany. But these are overall figures for all the different product categories that we have. So let's add right next to this another chart where we display the information per category. So I go to my table over here, grab my English product category names, and show the sales amounts for each of those. Again, we want to turn this into some chart. Let's maybe pick a bar chart this time. Okay, go ahead, show these things as well. And now the beauty of Power View is that it automatically links all these pieces of information together. So if I would now click on components over here, he automatically goes ahead and filters out components over here as well. So my users can interact with this and see how these percentages are dropping or increasing. Even multi-select, for instance, is supported. Or, of course, the other way around, we could click on a country over here and see how much that results into sales figures for different categories over there. So those are Power View reports, which just show up as a new sheet in our Excel workbook, and which of course can be saved with this Excel workbook. But last thing that I want to show you is the Power Maps. Power Maps is the fourth and last plugin that I want to show you in this video, and they allow us, of course, to plot information on a map, on an interactive map, such that people can go ahead and interact with these. So let's first load the Power Map interface. This Power Map interface is pulling its data from the same kind of models that the Power View reports were using, which are the Power Pivot data that we loaded earlier on. Okay, so this is my Power Map interface, and first I need to go ahead and choose what kind of geographical information I want to use. I'll simply use country names for this, but of course you could go ahead and have much more detailed information where you also work with cities and states, etc. Okay, so this is my geography. Next thing, I choose what I want to plot. I want to plot sales per capita, and then we can go ahead and pick all sorts of visualizations for this. We could, for instance, go ahead and use bar charts where higher bars show that we have higher sales per capita, or you could go ahead use bubbles bigger for yours, or you can go use region colors where we go ahead and use a color scale. The more blue a country is, the higher the sales per capita is over there. But we can even go ahead and take this a lot further. We could go ahead and really create movies where we go ahead and have this. So let's, for instance, as a first scene, focus on Europe over here. Then we could specify that for this layer we want to go and set up the scene options, specify that we want to have a flyover effect that lasts 3 seconds. The whole scene should be 4.5 seconds, and after that we want to add another scene where this time we go into North America. We have to zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's take this our video over there, fly, say on that one, that should last 3 seconds as well. The whole video should then be 5 plus the 6 seconds that we had for the other one. And now we have this tour. We can go ahead and show this tour, and that's how we will go ahead and present this information to the user. So